Some stories, they really get under your skin. This is one of them. It's the story of a house that doesn't just go bump in the night, it physically attacks the people who dare to live there.
I mean, really think about that. It sounds like something out of a movie, right? But for one family, this wasn't fiction. It was their reality. So let's go there. We're in Atchison, Kansas, on a quiet, tree-lined street. 508 North 2nd Street. It's just a simple white house. You'd walk right by it, never give it a second thought. But what's been festering inside those walls for over 100 years? Well, that's a very different story. Okay, so to really get this, you have to look at the history. The house goes way back to the mid-1800s, and pretty early on, one of the family's sons, a Dr. Charles Finney, sets up his medical practice right there on the first floor. This was before the town even had a real hospital. Now, fast forward to around 1905, and that's where the legend of a little girl named Sallie gets its start. And then, decades later, 1992, a young couple, Tony and Deborah Pickman, move in, and they have absolutely no idea what they're walking into. And that legend, it is just brutal. The story goes that this little girl, Sallie, only 6 years old, was rushed to Dr. Finney with a severe case of appendicitis. He was about to rupture, which back then was a death sentence. He had to work fast, too fast. He made the first incision before the anesthesia had fully taken hold. Can you even imagine? Her last moments were pure agony and terror, staring at the man she believed was torturing her to death. That feeling, they say, soaked into the very floorboards of that room, and it never left.
Right, so let's jump to 1992. Tony and Deborah Pickman are expecting their first child. They find this house, and it seems perfect. The ideal place to start their family. And for the first few months, it was. Just the normal creaks and groans of an old house. Nothing to worry about.
Exactly. It started so small. Lights would flicker, the oven timer would just go off by itself, stuff you'd just laugh off. But then their son, Taylor, was born, and everything changed. The activity became intelligent. One day, they come home to find their baby's stuffed animals arranged in a perfect circle on the nursery floor. Then, small, unexplained fires begin to just ignite out of nowhere. The house wasn't just quirky anymore, it felt hostile. So completely freaked out, they start digging for answers. They manage to track down a former resident, and what she tells them just sends a chill down their spine. She says her own kids used to talk about an imaginary friend they called Sallie. They'd always blame Sallie for the toys left scattered around. At the time, she just dismissed it, but now, that name was starting to connect some very disturbing dots across the decades. And this is the point where the story goes from a creepy ghost story to an absolute real-life nightmare. The playful, almost childlike pranks, they stopped. The presence in that house became violent, and it chose a single target, the man of the house, Tony Pickman. Yeah, the list of what Tony started to endure is just relentless. He reported getting these deep, bleeding scratches on his chest and back from unseen hands. He'd wake up with weird blisters on his wrists in the exact shape of small fingerprints, as if a child had grabbed him in his sleep. He was pushed, shoved. He was being tormented by a force that only he could feel. But here's the thing. This wasn't just his story. These attacks, they were witnessed in real time. When the Paranormal TV show Sightings came to investigate, their crew watched in absolute horror as bloody scratches appeared on Tony's skin right out of thin air while the cameras were rolling. At one point, the initials MC were carved into his back, the initials of Michael Croman Finney, the man who built the house and died there. And the attacks weren't just physical, they were psychological. Tony started hearing a storm of disembodied voices. He began having blackouts, waking up with no memory, just filled with a rage that wasn't his. After one blackout, he discovered he had killed a stray cat with a butcher knife. And then the voices gave him a new, horrifying command: stab your wife next. So the evidence of the attacks was undeniable. But the huge question remained. Was this really the ghost of an angry little girl lashing out at a man who reminded her of the doctor she hated? Or was it something else entirely? Because as investigators and historians started really digging into the legend, they came up against a shocking reality. They couldn't find a single record of Sallie. Nothing. Which leaves you with three terrifying possibilities. The legend is what we've all heard, a 6-year-old girl's ghost. But the reality is, there are no death certificates, no property records, no newspaper articles that mention a Sallie. Some people think the story was just a stunt to attract tourism. And that leads to the most chilling theory of all, that Sallie is not a ghost, but a mask. A disguise used by a demonic entity to gain trust before revealing its true nature and trying to possess Tony to commit horrific violence. After a final, violent shove down the stairs that nearly killed him, Tony and his family had finally had enough. In October of 1994, they packed their things and they fled. They abandoned the home and whatever resided within its walls, and they never, ever looked back. But here's the thing, the story isn't over. The house is open for business. For about $150 a person, you can book an overnight stay. It's now one of America's most famous paranormal tourist traps. But the danger is considered so real, so tangible, that every single visitor who wants to spend the night has to sign a waiver first, releasing the owners from any liability for physical or psychological harm. Think about that. The threat is so real, they need legal protection. The attacks are still reported. People get scratched, they hear voices. Whatever is in that house is still there, and it's waiting. So, knowing everything you now know, would you dare walk through that door and spend the night?